Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and a very exciting video. As some of you might know, after the reveal of Star Wars Battlefront 2 at Star Wars Celebration, they closed off the stream and let us participants actually see a behind the scenes trailer with no recording allowed. This trailer was about 2 or 3 minutes long and it didn't really show any trailer or any breaking news as far as I could see. However, EA were kind enough to send me over the first part of that behind the scenes trailer, which I'm now showing you in this video. On top of that, they also sent me a bunch of cool concept art from the next game, some of which have been public already and some of which haven't. So I decided why not go through all of them and look at all the details it reveals regarding the next game. So let's start off with the behind the scenes trailer. The part that they sent me mostly contains sort of development shots where you can see them doing motion capture with Janina, the actor for Aiden, as well as some other people who I'm assuming are parts of the Inferno Squad. The motion capture doesn't really reveal much. It looks like someone, maybe Kylo Ren, is force choking another person, and it also looks like Aiden and part of the Inferno Squad are on a bumpy vehicle or something similar to that. When we get over to their office, we can start looking for some more details. I think they have intentionally made some stuff blurry and hard to see to make sure that we don't see anything that we shouldn't see, and I couldn't deduct too much information. What I could see, however, was something on this back screen. It actually looks a little bit like a bus droid. It doesn't look exactly like a bus droid in the shape, so I don't think that's what it is. But I can't really understand what else it could be. If you guys have any idea, please let me know, because I think it looks like a little droid, but it could be something completely else. And in the next shot we get to see some cliffs, but the interesting thing is if you pause and zoom in, we can see the name of that map, Pilio Base. I actually googled this and I didn't find anything called Pilio Base regarding Star Wars, so I'm not really sure which planet this is on. It could be Vardos, the new planet, although it doesn't look like the footage we have seen so far of Vardos. And it can also be from this location that we can see them actually doing some photography at, and I honestly don't know what planet this is from. It looks a little bit like it could be Scarif, like another part of Scarif we haven't seen so far, or maybe Vardos has very different environments, or it could be Kashyyyk actually. Because I do not think they're gonna have another new planet. Making new planets takes a ton of work, so I think Vardos is probably the only new planet we will get in this game. So I would guess that this is probably from Scarif or Kashyyyk, and Pilio Base might be a new location on those planets instead. We also see some developers who seem to be animating the droid going into some sort of entrance. This is of course Aiden's back droid that they did show a lot more footage of in the version that we saw, but without footage to show you, there's not really too much I can tell you about that extra things we saw. And then lastly, we do actually get to see a little bit of off-screen gameplay. It looks to be in a very early stage, and we can see one member of Inferno Squad, most likely Aiden, going around in a hangar. And if we look down in the right corner, it looks like 2 abilities, possibly something like Disruption or a Shock Grenade based on that lightning bolt, and then the second one is pretty hard to make out. And then of course we have a standard health bar and a radar. And since this is very early footage and it's off-screen recorded, it's extremely hard to actually make out some details from it. But other than that, that was all that behind the scenes showed, but I could have missed something, so feel free to rewind this video and see if you find something yourself. But now over to the concept art. First off, we have this shot from Kamino, which has been previously made public, but it shows Slave 1 hunting Obi-Wan's Delta 7 ship. So those 2 ships are definitely confirmed for the game. Whether we get Jango and Obi-Wan as well I think we have to wait, because just because their ships are in the game doesn't necessarily mean it's confirmed. Next up, we have a piece of concept art that I think looked really cool. It seems to be inside of the Death Star, with a huge window looking out at a space battle taking place outside. At least I think that's what it is. I mean, it could potentially be on a Star Destroyer with a big window as well, but I do think this is the Death Star, and it could be either multiplayer or possibly one of the first missions before you actually get to see the Death Star blow up. But again, this is concept art and not actually in-game footage, so this might just be something they want to do to kind of set the feeling of the game. Next up, we of course have Hoth, which we've already seen quite a bit of footage from, both of course in the old games and from the trailer. And what we can make out is of course of walkers attacking what looks like Echo Base, and the Tauntauns, which was missed in the last game. And we can also see the Tauntauns headbutting some enemies in the trailer, which is something I'm very excited to try out. Moving on, we have a couple of shots from Jakku. First off, a standard one with the broken Star Destroyer, and the next shot shows a bit more urban warfare on Jakku, as the last game had pretty open maps. And we'll also get to see some TIE fighters doing some strafe runs, so I'm assuming we'll get a Walker Assault type game mode on there. And then the last shot from Jakku, which I think looks pretty cool, is actually some First Order troopers ambushing a couple of rebels or resistance fighters. Usually it's always the other way around. I mean, sure, we see the First Order attacking Rey and Finn on Jakku, but not the same way as here. We haven't seen First Order troopers sneaking up on a couple of resistance fighters, so this could just be some concept art to set the mood, and it could be part of the campaign. We'll simply have to wait and see. But now we're getting to some really big reveals. Next up, we have Naboo Theed and an AAT tank. The droid tank that everyone hoped for now that we have Clone Wars, and it seems like it will be in the game. I mean, it would have been a real big disappointment if we had Naboo, Clone Wars, and didn't have the AAT tank, but it's so cool to actually see it in one of the official concept arts, and I'm really excited to see some Frostbite footage of it later on. If you look carefully, you can also see some stationary turrets in the background, so I'm assuming these will make a return in the game. Not really a big surprise, but again, always nice to get confirmation. Moving on, we have Yavin 4 with a couple of stormtroopers on them. So it seems like we are getting some Yavin 4 warfare on the ground, something which we haven't seen in the movies, but we can see it in the official concept art as well. I feel like this is most likely after the destruction of the second Death Star, and it might as well be part of the campaign, and might be one of the first things that Iden will do to kind of avenge the Emperor. I especially think this shot inside the temple looks really good, because it looks like something out of a, I don't know, Indiana Jones movie almost. And it doesn't really look like I expected Yavin 4 to be, especially not compared to how they were in the old games, a bit more open with environments that look similar to the movies. So I'm glad to see that they're exploring some different environments on Yavin 4. And moving on, we have a shot from some real urban warfare on Mos Eisley. I'm so glad to see that they're actually adding a bunch of like stuff on the ground, small stands that I can sell stuff, because the old Mos Eisley map in the original Battlefront 2, although it was very popular, I've always thought it was very bare bones, you know, it's just some simple buildings and that's all, which was completely fine back then, but I couldn't really see how they could add that in the current game and not keep it boring. But based on this concept art, it looks like they're actually gonna add a lot of stuff around those houses, which is hopefully gonna make the gameplay a lot more interesting. And next up, we have a really cool shot of Vardos, looking at those huge buildings, red trees, and the lightning storm in the background. I mean, this just screams the Empire straight out. And I'm extremely excited to see more of this planet. It looks a little bit similar to Coruscant, but actually even cooler than Coruscant, because they get some color in there which fits really well with the red tone of their Empire. And I'm guessing that this tower might be some sort of central tower, maybe Iden's father's kind of castle, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure if he's alive even at this point, but nevertheless it looks like a really cool shot, and I'm excited to explore it myself. Next up, we have another shot that I think has already been shown. Basically some massive space battles with Iden's Imperial Raider Corvette, which again is so cool to see making an appearance in canon Star Wars material. Other than that, not much else we can see. TIE fighters, X-Wings. I'm guessing that they're probably gonna reveal more ships in the future, but they wanted to keep them out of the concept art because maybe they haven't decided on which ships they want yet, or they just want to save those reveals for later. And finally, we have this shot which has already been made public, the Slave One, the Jet Troopers, and of course the LAAT ships in the background. One of my favorite ships in the original Battlefront games, and I'm so excited to see them coming back. But that wraps up this video. That is all the behind the scenes footage and new concept art that I received from EA. Again, a big thank you to them for sending it over and for inviting me on this trip to Star Wars Celebration to see the world reveal of Battlefront 2. If any of you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe for more Star Wars Battlefront content. I will be providing you with daily content all the way up until the release of the game. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.